There's a crackle on the radio, a story to be told about banjos on the hillside and voices paved in gold. Got a cold glass bottle, drop some peanuts in the coat, and I'm sitting on the front porch hanging on every note. The Front Porch Podcast, singing times gone by, with fiddle strings and heartache and the reasons why. We keep this music living, never let it fade so fast. Raise a toast to the legends on the Front Porch Podcast.
Well, howdy there, everybody. Good evening to you. Good afternoon to you if you're on the other side of the big pond, as I know a bunch of you are. Howdy from Tennessee. This is Kevin. This is the Country Music Time Machine, and this is what we call the Front Porch Podcast. And thankfully, I'm out here on my front porch right now. I mean, isn't that cool? Because the last few times, it has not allowed us to be out here, and it's so cool to be out here right now. And I actually have... This is the miniature rocking chair. This is the rocking chair reserved for my wonderful grandchild, Vanessa. So when Vanessa comes, and one day, maybe I can train her. She'll be on the Front Porch Podcast with me. Hoping. She's watching right now. Love you, Vanessa. Love all you folks for chiming in, and you know the rules. The regulars around here know what we do at the beginning. We take the roll call from all you country music fans, especially you country music history fans out here. Let me know where you are tuned in from. Give me your name. Of course, I'll probably see your name in the thing, but if your name is a little bit different from what your handle is on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're dialed in from, just put it there. But I want to know where you dialed in from, because I like to say howdy to you. That's what we do around here. That's what we love. We like to connect to each other, and I like to know where everybody's coming from. This episode today is dedicated to the one, the only Shania Twain. Yes, we've got a lot to talk about with Shania Twain, an incredible, legendary performer in country music, and some say country pop music. We'll get into that more later. That is coming up. And as always, please, if you're dialing in for the first time, and we're getting a lot more, many more subscribers and viewers across all the multiple platforms we do this stuff on, please subscribe. It makes our channel grow. It makes it possible to do all this stuff, so please do that. And if you're just a geek and you just love country music history so much, especially if you're on YouTube, click that thanks button. That would help us out so much, and it would help buy more Coke and peanuts. That's right, folks. This is, as J-Cat would say, this is another Mexican Coke that I bought here in Middle Tennessee. I got this at the IGA today because it's the only bottles of Coke I can find in a glass bottle, which is the best for peanuts and Coke, are from Mexico. Because it's written in Spanish. As I speak Spanish, I know that it says refresco hecho en Mexico. I know that. It means a drink made in Mexico. So, yeah, let's go ahead and head on over to the chat section here. Let's see who we've got tuned in tonight. As always, usually the first person here is Maria Brown. She always loves tuning in, and she loves Shania Twain. I love Shania Twain, too. Doesn't just about every red-blooded American male like Shania Twain? I think it's sort of like the attraction to George Strait. If you like George Strait and you're a female, you're a male, you got to like Shania because she's a pretty woman. Thank you, Maria. Let's check out some more comments here and chime-ins. We got William May. Good evening, everyone. He says he's coming from Chapel Hill, the Tar Heel Country. Thank you so much, William. He's always with us. We got DDRR coming from Wisconsin. Let's see who else we got here because, I'm an older man and my eyes are getting weird. Katie, howdy from Tinker Air Force Base. I ain't got a dog in this fight. Katie watched the Country Slang 3, episode 3 video about all the funny ones that I mentioned on that episode. Ain't got a dog in this fight, which my reference was to the Tennessee Titans never being in the Super Bowl. So I never have a dog in that fight, which is sad. But at Tinker Air Force Base, a salute out to the airmen out there at the great Air Force Base. I was born on an Air Force Base. It was called George Air Force Base in California, but that was long ago, and George Air Force Base no longer exists. I think they use that air base as a zombie apocalypse movie set now, which goes to show you where I was born. We got the Country Music Time Machine historian Joshua John coming in from upstate New York. Rita Harris. Good evening, Kevin. Checking in from New Jersey. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. I am so far, Rita. The only issue, I don't know if you guys can see it on the camera. You might see smoke billowing up here beside my chair. If you see that, I'm not a smoker. I'm smoking a coil is what I'm doing. It's something I learned overseas as I lived and served in a lot of jungle countries. And the mosquitoes are bad right now in Tennessee after all this rain we've had. Hopefully we won't have some while I'm on the air here. And I've got a mosquito coil running, praying that I don't get eaten alive by mosquitoes while doing this podcast. All right, we've got P. Smith. This is Patrice. Hello to you and Vanessa from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Yeah, Vanessa gets her first shout out. All right, we've got Little Piper Todd. Todd in Illinois. We got a regular Corey Beaver watching from Council Bluffs, Iowa. We've got Tesla, and I know Tesla is in Honduras. Hola, Tesla. ¿Qué tal? Buenas noches. Hola, desde Tennessee. A little bit of Spanish there for you. Who else we got here? We got this one. We got Patrick Robinson. Love that Queen. I'm a new listener. Patrick, let me know where you're dialing in from. I love her too. And Tesla says, hola. All right. Patrick says he is in Flint, Michigan. Cool deal. Let's see what Corey's saying. I'll admit it. I did have a crush on Shania when I was younger. She was at the prime of her career at the time. She sure as heck was. And we're going to be talking about the prime of Shania Twain and some things that came after. And we're going to hear from Shania herself. Sadly, she's not here on the front porch with me. Boy, wouldn't that be cool? But we're going to hear from old Shania in her own words about some of her biggest songs. And I'm going to give you a crazy Kevin in Baghdad Shania Twain story. You got to stand by for that because you can't miss it, because it's one of those. There's a lot of memories in Baghdad I want to erase. That's one I can't, and it has to do with Shania. So let's go ahead and bring up the news here on the Front Porch Podcast, see what's happening in the world with comments and everything like that. First off, a shout out as I give a cheers to the Country Music Time Machine crew members of the week. Tuned in, dialed in, and ready to roll. We've got, of course, J-Cat. J-Cat was really tuned in. He was keeping me straight this week. A lot of action from J-Cat. Let me lean in here. We got 79 Tasman, Marcy Bales, and Robert Weaver. They were the most active ones so far this week. And speaking of active, I'm going to tell a little story about my time this week at the CMA Fest. I'm sorry, I'm getting it screwed up already because I'm so used to saying fanfare. I'm such an old guy. I was there back in those days. But a lot of great comments, thousands across the channels and everything. Got this one from Barb. Barb says, I've never come across your channel before. I live in Australia. I love your content. It brings tears to my eyes. Well, Barb, I hope not all of it brings tears to your eyes. Hopefully some of it can make you laugh. You got to check out the crazy country songs or the crazy country slang. That was Let's try to doing those make you laugh. I've now subscribed so I don't miss some great traditional country music that I grew up on. So, howdy, Australia. Thank you, Barb, so much. And thank you for tuning in. And in case you didn't notice, you may can see it on a little screen. I have the mic actually rigged up to the rocking chair. This is probably the first mic rig rocking chair in YouTube history. We are making broadcast history tonight. So you know that. I got to bring up that radio voice. All right. Let's see what's happening on the channel. And boy, crazy stuff. When I got back from the CMA Fest, as I say it right this time, on Thursday, I saw a lot of people out there. There were thousands and thousands of people out there. Some of them have actually tuned into the Country Music Time Machine and to this podcast before. And so when I got home, just before Vice President Vance got there and gridlocked the traffic, I got out in time because I had a feeling he was coming. I checked the statistics across, Facebook and Twitter and or X or whatever Elon Musk calls it now, and Instagram. And I went over to Facebook and I was shocked to my core. Um, and first I'm gonna tell you about what's going on the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is the headquarters of the Country Music Time Machine history stuff. So far, over 6 million views. You see that on the screen. But this right here is more shocking to me. When I looked at this on Thursday, the number was actually lower. It's only like 5.2 million. And now, yeah, see, my eyes are incredibly bad. Let me see what happens if I enlarge this. All right, I can see a little bit better with my bad eyes. 6.5 million views on Facebook in 28 days. Now, it's not, I'm not a Brad Pitt. I'm not the most handsome guy in the world, and I'm not the best announcer in the world or anything like that. You ask yourself why that is. Well, it's that way because people love country music. They love country music history. And like I saw at the CMA Fest, many love classic country music, whether it's released in the 80s, 90s, 70s, 60s, or today. They like the twang. And Facebook showing that 6.5 million views in 28 days. But while I was there, I started studying some of the comments on some of the posts, and I found something disturbing, and I want to warn you guys about this in case nobody's ever warned you before. And it came from this comment. Then I saw it in multiple other places. Catherine says, love Gorge straight. I think she was trying to say George. I have trouble typing George too. Then this person, this lowlife of a person pretending to be George Strait, chimes in, supposedly from the George Strait official fans page, which it's not. George Strait, even though he's getting older in age, he's a busy man. He's not messing around on the Country Music Time Machine Facebook page, connecting with fans. And this guy, right, I'm not going to read all what he wrote, or guy or girl or whoever it was, or wherever this person's from, but can you please send me a friend request? This is at the end of the comment, or message me directly. Let's be honest friends. Thanks, and remain happy and blessed. That's troublesome, folks. If you see that, don't pay attention to it. Unless you see a blue check mark by their name, that is not George Strait. That is a person pretending to be George Strait. And what they do, they hook you in, they make you think you're talking to George Strait, and they try to get you to send money or do something stupid. So please, folks, stay away from low-life scumbags like the George Strait official fans page, because it's not official. Here at the Country Music Time Machine, we don't like to do hype. We just like to do country music history and country music news. So let's try to stay away from that crazy, crazy stuff. Let me see if I can minimize that a little bit. And this week, and going on right now as I speak, is the big CMA Fest here in Nashville. And thousands and thousands and thousands of people are on, I used to say fairgrounds, but in downtown near the Music City Center during the day and the stages in and around there and some of the bars around that area. And at nighttime over at Nissan Stadium, watching the huge acts. And I got to tell you, um, the last time I went to a fanfare or CMA Fest, now it's called, it was a lot different. It was a lot more personable. And I'm going to show you a picture right now. See this on the screen. I'm not in this picture, but I'm in this room when this picture was made. And you see, not of the woman on the left, I don't think I was around her, but you can see Shania standing up on a table at the fanfare back in the day. That was the last time I had gone to fanfare, now called CMA Fest, and it has changed so much. Back in those days, if Shania was there, Garth was there, Alan Jackson was there, George Jones was there, whoever was there, you would just basically walk up to the table, get your picture taken, get your autograph. Hopefully, the dogs weren't barking in the background when they were doing that, but it was, in a sense, a lot more down to earth. It was hotter. Yeah, we didn't have blowing ventilation fans or squirting water, but it was different. That was fanfare. But it's now CMA Fest. I'm going to show you a picture here. This is me in front of the Dude Wipes Mini Pooper. This is how it's gone from fanfare to CMA Fest. It's gone commercial. And I understand people have to make money, bills have to be paid. But inside the Music City Center, where I spent a lot of time, there were some artists. There was some great music going on and great chances to meet some great artists. But there was also a lot of commercialism everywhere. They had absolutely nothing to do with country music. I'm a country boy and I've never used a dude wipe. I use a washcloth, a towel. Maybe they come in handy sometimes. I don't know. I know in Baghdad, I know some of the guys, when you couldn't get a shower, they used some sort of wipes, but they were like handing out these pooper wipes everywhere. Like, what does it have to do with country music? I don't know. But it goes to show you how things have changed. But here's a great picture that I took as I was hanging out with Shenandoah on Thursday. And, honestly, Shenandoah, one of the highlights of the CMA Fest for me, because it just goes to show you that they are great country and people love them. I'm going to show you a clip right now. They were singing 2 Dozen Roses in front of a huge, there's no more room to get in there. And it was actually funny enough, it was in front of the Chevrolet front porch. And as a guy who drives Fords, I drove my Ford truck there that day. I had to deal with it, I guess. I'm not a Chevy man. I'm a Ford guy, but we still had fun. And Shenandoah was there, and we talked with Marty before he went on stage, and he was excited. I saw Marty, like 30 years ago on the Chevy Geo Theater stage at Fanfare. So it was like a coming of age thing. And I recorded this. I was standing right in front of the stage with the other media people. I recorded this. And this shows you how many folks, young and old, you look at this crowd, you're going to see not just people my age, but people every age enjoying Shenandoah and singing along with 2 Dozen Roses. Actually, that's not 2 Dozen Roses. That's Lainey Wilson. We'll tell you about that. Here's 2 Dozen Roses. Oh, yes, my boys from Shenandoah. They only had time to do 4 or 5 songs, but they did them all great. And Marty was talking to the crowd, getting them juiced up, and they loved it. And that's where everybody was at. And it was a lot of fun. And we enjoyed the heck out of it. Also, I hung out at the Lainey Wilson bar. What's it called? The Bell Bottoms bar, the Bottoms Up bar. Thanks to the folks at Big Machine Label Group invited us to come out there. We stepped out there for a tiny bit. Yeah, now that's a clip of the Lainey Wilson's Bottoms Up bar. I don't know why I was trying to call it the Bell Bottoms bar, because it does have a big cutout of her butt and legs and her bell bottoms. But that was a fun place to be. I did not drink, but I spent a few minutes there, and it was a cool place to be. People were having lots of fun. But I want to tell you this, one of the key reasons you should consider going to the CMA Fest, and if you can't come this year, if you're too far away, maybe next year, is not just because of the big name acts. It's because of the super talented acts that may not be big yet, but they deserve to be big. That was the way of the fanfare, as it was called back then, in the 80s and 90s. And that's when we hung out with Shania and Alan and all those folks before they got big. And Cliff Dorsey, I ran into Cliff Dorsey there. If you ever get a chance to listen to Cliff Dorsey, if you like country music, even probably more country than Morgan Wallen, but sort of the Morgan Wallen sound, I could hear it in his voice, and also a little bit of George Strait there. You should listen to Cliff Dorsey. I strongly encourage you to do that. Take care of him. He's fighting to make a living, but he's super talented. He's super nice. You got a lot of folks hanging out with him inside the Music City Center on Thursday. And for those of you that are in Nashville or in the area and going to CMA Fest, he's going to be there. I'm not sure if he's there right now, but he's going to be there tomorrow too at the Music City Center. So go by and check out Cliff Dorsey. Also, the Country Music Festival in Myrtle Beach is happening right now, the Carolina Country Music Festival. Jelly Roll, Kid Rock, Lenny Wilson, Rascal Flatts, a lot of those folks I saw here in Nashville, and they're still going to be in Nashville, but they're going to be in Myrtle Beach too at the Carolina Country Music Festival. That happens every year. I think it's about the same time as CMA Fest as well. And in the news this week, I did see this from 101.3 KFDI, a little mention about Ella Langley, and I saw this on some other news sources. KFDI is from Wichita, Kansas. Ella Langley says she's still struggling with mental health issues, all stemming from her quick rise to fame and award success and the imposter syndrome she felt after the ACMs. She says she's leaning on her faith to get through it. That is great. Ella, you are the future of country music, especially us folks who like the classic type of country music. You hang in there. We love you. We support you. I hope that in the future you will have a chance to win some country awards, and others that aren't singing country don't get those awards. So, Ella, hang in there. We love you. God bless you. And you are in our prayers. Now, on this screen right now, if you see this picture, this is a picture that my daughter Alexa took of me and Gracie. And Gracie looks like she's praying there. And Gracie and I, in that picture, we're recording a special episode. Comes out sometime next week. It's a long one. It's like 48 minutes long. And we're covering the best songs about dads in country music and pop music history. Now, you've got to check it out. And I see Gracie standing right. Gracie, can you come over here and get on the camera with me? Just don't knock anything over. Don't knock my mosquito coil over.
Hello.
You have to lean down there. Say hi, Gracie. Now, Gracie, tell me, you'll have to lean here to get to this mic, I think.
Okay.
This is my lovely daughter, Gracie. She is the host of the Pop Music Time Machine. That includes a lot of music I don't listen to, some of it I do, but we did not prep for this question. Gracie, from the Father's Day episode we recorded this week, what was your favorite song?
Oh, my favorite song. Let me see.
This will key you into what is coming on this.
Probably Butterfly Fly Away. Billy Ray Cyrus, Miley Ray Cyrus.
Yeah.
Or Miley Ray Cyrus.
I don't know if it's Miley Ray. It could be.
No, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, well, that's a good song. And stand by for a surprise on that episode. Like I say, it's going to come out Thursday. Gracie's on there. I'm on there. We're playing pop music songs and songs like from Billy Ray and Miley Ray and Kevin Ray. That is actually my middle name, Kevin Ray.
Where the
Go
confusion came
go
from.
figure that out. But Gracie, thank you for stopping by, sweetie.
Bye.
Check out Gracie on the Pop Music Time Machine.
Happy Father's Day.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Gracie, always fun to be with. I'm just going to bring up something from Corey Beaver here. Corey says, I'm a Ford guy too. It's what I grew up on. And he also says Miley Ray. Yes, Miley has a new name, you know. I'm going to mention something about Miley and Shania. In some ways, I see them related, not by blood, but by musical career and choice. But please tune in to Music for Dad from the Country Music Time Machine and the Pop Music Time Machine. It'll be on both channels. Tune in to me and my lovely daughter, Gracie, as we talk about some great music for dads. All right. It's time to talk about Shania Twain and hear from Shania. Before I do, I've got to take a drink of Coke and Pepsi. A reminder, please, if you can, subscribe, like us, share it, tell your friends about it. And if you feel like it, click that thanks button down there and help support the Country Music Time Machine. All right, now let's talk about a young lady who's not so young anymore, but she always looks young and always think her as young because the first time I saw her, she was incredibly young. And that was late 80s, early 90s, I think it was. And her name is not Shania. Eileen Regina Edwards is her real name. And she was born August 28th, 1965. She is 59 years young in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. And I think of all the people I've featured so far on this channel, on this podcast, probably the biggest town, 229,000. That's a pretty big town. Shania was raised in Timmins, Ontario, does not recognize her father, her birth father, as her father. Her birth father is Clarence Edwards. She took the name of her mother's husband, Jerry Twain, an Ojibwa from the Matagami First Nation. And, you know, I think I said this on the Mother's Day special we did. You know, sometimes we can't help who our mothers or fathers are. And quite often in life, sometimes our mothers or fathers aren't related by blood, they're related by love. So in this situation, Shania chose her father to be the man who worked hard, who put food in her mouth, and who protected her in her younger days to be her father. And you know what? That is great. You know, just because you donate a specimen to a woman does not make you a father. Just because your name is on that birth certificate does not make you a father. Legally, it might, but really, inside here, what makes you a father is doing what fathers are supposed to do. So Shania recognized it that way. And she went on to say, my father, Jerry Twain, went out of his way to raise three daughters that weren't even his. For me to acknowledge another man as my father, a man who was never there for me as a father, who wasn't the one who struggled every day to put food on our table, would have hurt him terribly. Good words from Shania. Her parents earned little money and food was often scarce in their household. And for a brief time, it was so tough they had to live in a homeless shelter in Toronto. So Shania, like some other country stars, did not grow up rich. She did not grow up privileged. She grew up in a tough life. And as I'll go on and explain to you, in case you haven't heard this story, life got tougher for Shania. And that was long before she ever became Shania and became famous. She started singing at bars at the age of 8 to try to help pay her family's bills and put food on the table. She said, I hate this. I hated going to bars and being with drunks, but I love the music, and so I survived. So, you know, it's got to be tough for a young child, looks like that age, to have to put up with that. But I tell you what, she paid her dues, and she sure as heck impressed a lot of people when she was young. I'm going to play you this clip, and this is a good one. When I hear this clip, I want you to agree or disagree that if you hear Tanya Tucker. But this is a clip from the Tommy Hunter show on CBC. I think it's from 1980. She was 14 years old, if my math calculations are correct. Let's check out this little clip about Shania and one of her first TV appearances.
But you could see she was very confident. Didn't look like she was afraid about being up on stage.
The beer they say is cold in old Milwaukee. My body's here, but my soul's in San Antonio.
There's no question. She just opens up her mouth, and for me, I hear it. It's a gift beyond us. And so I said to Sharon, you know, this girl is going to be something very special.
Texas is as close as I've been. Texas is as close as I've been.
Yes, Tanya Tucker screams at me when I hear Shania singing that song. Other thing that screams at me is she's got new teeth, you know. But that is a great song, and it shows you her talent, her incredible talent that she had at a young age. And honestly, even at that age, she really was professional because she'd been singing bars from an incredibly young age. But not everything is happy. November 1st, 1987, mother and stepfather died in a car crash, and she helped to raise her siblings. It's got to be crazy. It's got to be when you lose both your parents in one single moment, and how you have to adjust and adapt to that. And here is Shania herself sort of explaining how she in a sense had to be forced to grow up after losing her mother and father.
Well, they died in a car crash. Obviously, it was a very, very difficult time.
Yeah.
But it was also it was a turning point in my life that I think matured me, brought me up to probably where I should have been in the first place at that age. You know, I did take some responsibility for my brothers and my sister who had moved in with me. They were really young when my parents died. My brothers were 13 and 14.
You actually, you raised them.
I didn't raise them, no. I mean, they moved in with me for a couple of years after my parents died, and we kind of all bunked together and took care of each other. I mean, obviously, I was the older one. I was the older sister. My oldest sister had a family of her own, so it would have been a lot for her. So we just all bunked together and got through it together. And I learned a lot from it. I matured a lot from it.
Well, I mean, you're forced to mature a lot when something that devastating happens in your life. And Shania eventually headed south here to Nashville and branched out and started singing some country music. And, you know, it wasn't an overnight success for Shania. A lot of people think that, but that wasn't the case, because when, you know, I was in country radio in and around Nashville in the early 90s into the late 90s. And in the early 90s, Shania was not a big thing. We knew, I mean, amongst the other DJs and folks at the radio station, we knew she was talented. We just wondered if the things would click correctly to make Shania a superstar, because we knew she had the talent and she had the beauty. We just knew that if things worked out, she could be, because there are plenty of talented, beautiful women and men out there now, and some do not make it. But she did get signed to Mercury Records. Her 1993 album was not a huge success. Now, here's a little interview, and while she doesn't directly answer this question, you can sort of get an idea of where she's coming from. The person asked her about, you know, did they force her to make more classic country on that first album? Check out this clip and you'll see what I'm talking
And
about.
were you signed as like, did they want pure country from you, or did they want the crossover and the pop, or like, you know, were you able to do what you wanted to do?
Not at the beginning.
Yeah.
I had to, I was a northerner going to the south. I was a woman in very much more of a man's world in the country music industry. I had nothing. I had no money. I had no parents. My parents had already passed away, so I had nothing to go back to. It was do or die. So I had to be very smart and not balk at whatever opportunities did come along and make the most of them.
Yeah.
I will say this, and this was probably the opinion of a lot of people in and around Nashville in the early 90s, especially when that first album came out. We saw a beautiful woman and we saw a great talent. Personally, for me, what I didn't see on that album, even though some of the songs are great and I love some of the songs, I just didn't see a production quality high enough to meet her talent. and that was just my opinion. And even though the songs were great, but guess what? Shania ran into this fella. I think it was a 1993 fanfare. This is Mutt Lange. Mutt Lange, I think he first saw her on one of her music videos from that first album and recognized the talent. The Mutt Lange comes from a background of, I think, AC/DC, heavy metal, hard rock. But he I think there was a talk about Shania just going rock, but Mutt said, no, let's do your country, but let's just do a new style, a new flavor of country. And Mutt Lange, a very smart man, knew what he was doing. He could produce an album, and boy, did he produce a great one. And they were married in 1993, and it was that duo, Mutt Lange and Shania Twain, that made the Shania Twain product as huge as it was. And as we all know, it got pretty huge. The production value increased. At least on the first few songs, the first album, it was still more countrified, and it started to change later in years, but Shania exploded. In 1995, Any Man of Mine came out, went to number one from the Woman in Me album. So many great songs on that album. Always, this will be my favorite album. You can chime in with what you think your favorite Shania Twain song is, and if I'm paying attention, I'll pop it up here on the screen. But that album was incredible, and that moved the world, and in some ways changed country music forever. That one album, plus the album that's getting ready to come up. And of course, in 1995, Shania wins the Album of the Year award. Now, once you watch this video, and what I see in this video that I really don't see much anymore, that I saw sort of fade away in the later years, was that just innocent energy, excitement that she had back in those days. Watch this. I think it's Sawyer Brown and Pam Tillis giving Shania Twain the Album of the Year award.
The album of the year is The Woman in Me, Shania Twain.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that at all. Yes! Okay, I have a lot of people to thank. I'll try and get through it very quickly. First of all, of course, my husband, Mutt Lange, who did an amazing job producing this album. And I want to thank Nashville very much for giving me the shot to be the country artist that I am, and allowing me to get to the fans, who, of course, have made this award possible. Thank you so much. I'm shaking, okay. Everybody at Mercury Nashville who has, this has been a pretty long haul with this album, and we're all really tired right now, but we're enjoying every wave of it. And they really work their butts off over there. Thank you so much to everyone at Mercury. I think everyone's a little thinner now at this end of the album, but I want to thank my family at home, all my sisters, my brothers, my grandmother, my aunts, my uncles, everyone for supporting me since I was this high, and I don't know, everyone in the world. Thank you so much.
You know, what gets me about that video is just that young beauty and energy that she had. She was taking the world by storm. And as we all know, she even got bigger after that with her next album as well. Those were magical times. And I know that the 1990s were a turning point in country music history, and country music style in that sense too. But that was a magical time. And of course, us guys love Shania, but the ladies love Shania too. Everybody loves Shania. The next album came out a few years later, 97, Come On Over. 40 million records sold. I mean, that's just, I mean, when that happened in the country music industry, at that time I was working at WSIX in Nashville, and we're like, what? She's selling 40 million records? Well, she was, because people all over the entire world were tuning in to Shania. Now, one of the most important songs, the song that changed so much, not only for Shania, but very possibly for country music itself, is Man, I Feel Like a Woman. That song changed everything. Watch this.
If there's any song that has ever affected culture in a way that I've ever written, it's Man, I Feel Like a Woman. I can't take credit for knowing that in the moment of writing it, but it sure does matter.
Man, I feel like a woman. Come on.
Man, I Feel Like a Woman has taken on a life of its own entirely. There's so much social relevance, like an anthem for many people. You can be a really strong, independent woman and still be playful, or whatever you want to be on the outside, and be it with conviction. Man, I Feel Like a Woman does say all of that.
Thank you so much, Shania. You know, and I agree with what she's saying. Women love that song. That is an anthem of women and also other segments of society. But you're probably wondering why, Kevin, why is there a picture of a guy sitting beside sandbags beside Shania Twain's freeze frame from Man, I Feel Like a Woman music video? I've got to tell you, and to tell you, I got to play a music bed back here. Hopefully you can still hear me as I play this. I won't keep it too loud. This is the Man, I Feel Like a Woman music bed. But I've got to tell you this story because it's so cool. To give you the idea of how big Shania is, 2007, I was stationed in Baghdad, Iraq, at the U.S. Embassy there. And back then, we didn't have an embassy or anything. We worked in Saddam Hussein's palace, and as you can see me sitting there, that was where I slept. There was another guy on the other side of the hooch with me. Well, I think it was on Thursday nights, we had karaoke night at Saddam Hussein's swimming pool. And everybody there knew I was a country music fan. Everybody there knew I loved Shania Twain. One of the Marines dared me to sing a Shania Twain song at the karaoke thing at Saddam Hussein's pool. So, being the man that I was, I didn't want to be a wimp, you know. I said, okay, I'll do it. What song do you want me to sing? And it was this song, and I go, oh my God, I'm going to die. Well, I got up there in the best of my ability. I sang the karaoke, Man, I Feel Like a Woman. Not because I actually feel like a woman, because I love women, you know. I like men, but not that way. But it was fun until near the end of the song, the air raid sirens go off. and we had to run to the bunkers because the Iraqi insurgents started launching mortar rounds into the compound. Now the question is, was that just a regularly scheduled mortar round launching, or was it because they heard Kevin on stage at Saddam Hussein's palace pool singing "Man, I'm Like a Woman"? Man, I feel like a woman from Shania Twain. I don't know. I just had to tell that story because I think it's funny, but it shows the impact of Shania Twain, and she has a worldwide impact, and a lot of folks love her. A lot of folks love her, and some folks hate her also because as things fall off the wall here on the front porch, because she's so dang sexy, and it has caused a controversy. And the word I have on the screen here is midriff, like midriff. I I don't know where that word came from, but midriff, belly button. That's what I call it. There was a lot of complaints in and around the country music industry. And I don't think so much from fans, but maybe the country music industry about Shania's showing her sex appeal. Not only did Shania show it, but when she married Mutt Lange, he amplified it. And he was smart enough to know that when you mix a beautiful woman, a great singer with great music, you're going to sell a lot of records. Well, there have been some complaints and grief, especially in the early days, about the beauty of Shania, her curves. And let me tell you, as a guy who's been in the same room with her, she's got great curves. But it's not all about that, and Shania in this video clip sort of expresses what she's talking about, where in some ways it gets on her nerves that people said, oh, she's just a beautiful face, beautiful body, and not a talent. When we all know she sure as heck is a great talent.
So I was always fighting my feminine curves in order to be taken seriously. And when I started to get creative freedom with my and these creative platforms in as a recording artist, I'm like, wow, I'm gonna play with this now. This is my playground. I am breaking free from this nonsense of pretending I'm not a girl, that I'm not a woman, or trying to hide behind something else to be taken seriously. It's to me a very personal rejection of these stigmas that we are as women often branded with.
Yep, Shania. But Shania through the years proved that, of course, she was beautiful. That was her style. That's what she enjoyed doing. That's what, at the time, her husband pushed really hard because it made a lot of money for her. And she went on to say it wasn't about being naked or anything like that. It was just about feeling liberated and not being under anyone's thumb. There you go. 2002, the album Up came out. Now, history tells us that the album Up was not as big as her previous albums. It was big. It made a lot of money, sold a lot of records, had great music and great collaborations, including, I think, Billy Currington was on that album. But things started to change a little bit. I actually hear the ice cream truck in the background. You get strange sounds here on the front porch. But things started to change, and this is where I'm going to give you my opinion based on my career that I had in radio. And, I think the problem came when Shania went too much pop. Two things happened in these years. She got too poppy. She went away from that core country fan base. Excuse me. And she also started to have problems in her life. Now it's time to talk about the big one. It was in all the tabloids. A lot of talk about it. We're talking about the 2008 betrayal. Mutt messes around with Shania's best friend, and I think she was also her personal assistant. Devastating for her because At the time, according to Shania, she was deeply in love with Mutt, her husband, and they'd been married for quite a while at that time. And this, according to Shania, was a big surprise to her. And it hurt her a lot. And it may have changed her in some ways as well. Um, and what got even crazier about this situation, it kept getting crazy. It got crazy in stages, I guess, was the letter. Shania wrote a letter to this woman saying, "This is killing me. Have mercy. I loved him so much and I can't cope anymore. I don't want life or love anymore. I just want peace." But not only did she send that letter to that woman, she also publicized the letter. Now, she may regret that now. I'm not sure. But that's pretty crazy. And here is a great interview. One of the greatest interviewers of country music legends actually is not from the U.S. at all. And he's a fellow by the name of Strombo in Canada. I can't say his last name. I think it's Greek, and I speak Spanish, Portuguese, and Russian. Greek is not my other language. But Strombo up in Canada has interviewed country music legends. I had him interviewing Charlie Pride here a few months ago when I did the special on Charlie Pride. But and he's so good because he asks great questions. And he asks some of the hard questions. He doesn't care who it is, he'll just ask them. And that makes a good interviewer. But in this clip, Strombo asked the fellow Canadian Shania about that crazy letter.
Obviously, we know about the breakup and the demise of your relationship, but the decision to post a letter that you wrote to the other woman.
Yeah.
Who, not just the other woman, but the other woman who was your friend.
Right, my betrayer.
Your betrayer, yes.
My backstabber, I guess, if you will. But
both words are accurate, yeah. It's funny, of the two B words she could have picked, she picked other ones. But that's a really interesting, because that's a hurt human being that writes that.
And I wanted to share that because if writing this down and sharing it with everybody is going to have a true benefit. I can't just give advice and skim across and say, well, I understand you, I've been through a few things myself. I think you have to give testimony and explain why you understand someone. And then they'll truly benefit. They'll listen. They'll have a reason to listen and believe you. And then they will benefit from that. They will say, wow, I'm really not alone. I might be afraid to speak out myself, but at least I know somebody else understands me, and it's someone that has a lot to risk. It's a big risk stepping out when you've got, a platform to stand on where, with a microscope looking at you.
It's a big risk because you're telling people that, hey, here I was in this seemingly idyllic relationship. We had the great deal, we had the career, we had all this stuff, and then my friend and my man went, like, you're telling people, and that goes against your core.
Well, the thing is, that particular incident was ironic and was a turning point for me because out of my control was exploited anyway. I mean, it was written about all over the tabloids, right. So it was like, that was humiliating at that moment for me. I'm like, I've spent all these years trying to hide so many things, and all of a sudden, how can this happen? I was very angry about that. I was really, really upset. I was very upset with Marianne for that because she knew how much I'd protected my privacy.
Marianne's the other woman.
The other woman. Yeah. And, I thought she knew me so well. She knows how much I cherish that. And surely she would know that this would eventually come out, and then it would be everywhere.
Right.
And it didn't stop her, obviously, but so I'd already gone through the humiliation of that. So that part's not difficult for me. Everybody already knows that, and I don't talk about the details of the actual affair. That, as much as it might be interesting to people, I thought, well, it's not important. What's important is that I'm sharing the effect
right.
that it had on me. What I've learned from it, hopefully will encourage and inspire other people to, be very careful about choosing their friends, signs, things to look out for, and maybe, how to get through it.
That's what Shania says. And this soap opera actually continued in a sense, but hopefully a happy ending. She finds love. Shania ends up with her ex best friend forever's ex-husband, using X twice in the same slide. They got married in 2011. They're still together. We hope them the best, but it is a strange situation. But it's some people say, oh, that just happens to rich, famous people. That's bull. It happens to a lot of different segments of society going through things like that and having those situations. It's amazing where you might can find your love in possibly the places you would least expect. So she found her love in 2011. It just happened to be her evil ex-best friend's husband. All right, we'll roll along. Now, this question comes up a lot. You folks who know this channel know that I really love to protect country music history. This is what the channel is about. And it does get me upset when I see an overbearance of music in the country music industry that is not really country music. But this question gets asked a lot as the train is going by the front porch now. Did Shania ruin country music? And I will answer it this way. As a guy who loves especially classic country music, my answer to this is absolutely not. Shania did not ruin country music. Shania did incredibly change country music. She changed it in musical ways, improving production values, improving, music video, presentations, and improving chances for women to have a better chance at getting ahead and getting forward. And she's outspoken for women's rights as well. She did not ruin country music, but I cannot sit here on this front porch right now and lie to you either, because Shania got very, very pop and rock in her country themed music. It may have changed it in a way that it was part of that mechanism of the 1990s where you went from loads of classic country artists and then boom, they're gone. The Ricky Van Sheltons, the George Straits, the George Jones, the Randy Travises just don't get played anymore. Was that Shania's fault? I don't know if it was Shania's fault, or it was just the time, or it was the age, or whatever was happening. But I love some of her poppy rock stuff too. But honestly, I miss the old Shania. I miss those songs that were more countrified. She did them so well, and people loved them so much. And when they went away from that base, those record sales started going away. Now, here's another. I'm going to have to enlarge this for my old eyes. You guys can't see when I enlarge it, so I don't know why I'm saying that, but Shania has changed recently, and just watching some things, it does worry me a little bit. And this is from a couple of years ago. Fans seen leaving early left frustrated and confused after a disappointing performance from Shania Twain. And if you see this picture on the internet somewhere, I notice that some of those walking out there are actually, I think a couple of them have cowboy hats on. I mean, is that a statement? I don't know. I wish Shania can do whatever she wants to. She has enough money to live 100 lifetimes. And we will always love her. And I still listen to her music today, but I just love the old stuff more. And I love the old stuff more because it just had more country feel to it. So Shania, Taylor Swift, I wish those folks would consider releasing a country album. Beyonce, who wins the country album of the year over on Billboard, is not even a country album really. But I wish these super talented artists would just try, just for one album or for a couple of songs, do some pure country. It would just warm my heart. I would love it so much. And whether that's going to happen with Shania, I don't know. But we love her. She's great. Go over to the comment section, see if we got anything good here going on. Corey says, yeah, I forgot about that duet with Billy Currington on Party for Two. I think she did it also with that pop dude, Sugar Ray. What else we got? Got Stephen LeBlanc, one of Shania's neighbors, which I don't think Shania lives in Canada anymore. She lives part-time in Las Vegas and part-time in, is it New Zealand or Switzerland? I don't. Steve LeBlanc, hey, from St. John, New Brunswick. Getting here a little late. Well, Stephen, better late than never. And this person says, DDRR says a little different, doesn't mean ruined. Exactly. I don't think it means ruined either. And William May is Shania improved country music by bringing in fans. And that's a really good point. What I saw at CMA Fest this week was many, many more country fans than I saw middle-aged fans. At least in the thousands of people I was walking amongst. But at that Shenandoah show, there were so many young folks. And I watch them and I'd look on their face and they would just be singing to the top of their lungs, and you would see the emotions in their face. Shenandoah songs from the 1990s. That's incredible. So yeah, it's amazing stuff. Just now getting to join in. That's Jay. Thank you, Jay. But yeah, that is the special about Shania Twain. We love her. We will always love her. We'll always have her great music she had before. Let's hope she gets some more coming up in the future. And old Kevin here hopes it be a little more countryfied. That'd make my day. Hey, folks, thank you so much for joining us for the Front Porch Podcast tonight. Over an hour already. The sun's going to be going down in Tennessee here in a little while. Thank you for joining us. Remember, if you're new to this channel and this platform, please subscribe, like. If you love country music history, that's what we're all about. We talk about country music history and the news of country music when we do the Front Porch Podcast. Like, subscribe. If you really love us, hit that thanks button. A big thanks goes so long because, quite honestly, the secret is when I play music on this channel, every penny goes to the musicians or the record company. So, I got enough to buy a couple of Coke and Peanuts. So hit that thanks button. That'll improve the Coke and Peanuts fund. But even if you don't, I love you. And I'm just glad to have you here. So until next time, Kevin, God bless you all. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, let's please keep it country right here on the Country Music Time Machine.
There's a crackle on the radio, a story to be told about banjos on the hillside and voices paved in gold. Got a cold glass bottle, drop some peanuts in the coat, and I'm sitting on the front porch hanging on every note. The Front Porch Podcast, singing times gone by, with fiddle strings and heartache and the reasons why. We keep this music living, never let it fade so fast. Raise a toast to the legends on the Front Porch Podcast. The Front Porch Podcast, singing times gone by, with fiddle strings and heartache and the reasons why. We keep this music living, never let it fade so fast. Raise a toast to the legends on the Front Porch Podcast.